Hi guys, it's Dr. Wireman again. I'm going to do a brief talk with you about money. And I'm going to do it along with the PowerPoint that I have posted. So you may want to pause this and pull up the PowerPoint, and then I can talk you through that. So I started doing this talk a few years back after my husband and I had a meeting with our financial advisors, which we hadn't done in like 20 years. And I realized that there were some very basic fundamental concepts that I wish I had known when I was your age, and I wish somebody had talked to me about. I'm not a money person. I'm not a money expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I have taken sort of what I've learned from them and created this little talk and actually had them review it and look it over, and they wanted to come and do the talk themselves, but we got canceled this semester. So anyway, I just think there's some basic things that would be smart for you guys to begin thinking about earlier rather than later. And while money doesn't buy you happiness, it certainly can secure you some important things in life. What the data shows us is that poverty is not good. It's not good for our physical health. It's not good for our mental health. It's not good for our overall well-being. So managing your finances can be really critical to your having higher levels of well-being in life. So I'd like to just do this little talk to encourage you to think more about it. The data, just to get more specific, sort of talks about a family of four earning under $70,000 is going to start to see some issues. Whereas once you earn over $70,000, incremental increases don't really make that much difference in terms of happiness. But once again, while it doesn't make you happy, it is correlated when you don't have it to lower levels of well-being. So that's what started getting me talking about it. And as you look on our second slide, it asks the question of who are the wealthiest people in the world and what do they have in common. And if you go to the next, if you guys could guess, we have people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, and aside from them all being white males, which that's another discussion, what do they all have in common? Well, they all own their own businesses, and it gives you some data there on just how much money, how many billionaires and millionaires we have in the country right now. So on the next slide, slide number 4, the basic point here is that we're not all business people, and we're probably not all going to own our own businesses. I'm certainly not. I'm not very business minded. So how can we make money then if we're not going to have our own businesses? And the idea behind it is that you make money by investing in businesses, and that's through stocks. And the stock market, I know it seems like it's in a free-for-all right now during this crisis, but considering even real inflation, we see an average rate of real returns from the stock market over time between 7 and 8%, which is much higher than, for example, if you were to put your money in just a savings account, which I don't know what they earn now, 1%. It's much, much lower. So if you go to slide number 6, it's a slide that shows the average of how the stock market has performed. Let me just point that at it for you. Let's see if that's showing it. Anyway, that's the slide I'm on. It shows you the average of how the stock market has performed since its inception. And what you hopefully can notice is while there are some dips, and there's some big dips, the Great Depression and the subprime crisis that we had pretty recently, you should see that overall the stock market continues to increase and continues to earn people money. So day to day, even year to year, you can see some losses, but over time you're going to make money. And the best thing to do is to invest in it, and when you're young, to stay put, to stay invested. So like right now, when people see all these drops and people get scared, they tend to pull their money out of the stock market. If you're young, and even not that young, I mean, if you're, say, 10 years outside of retirement, it's premature to be pulling all your money out of the stock market. If you're needing to live off the stock market, in other words, you're in retirement years, then it's a little bit trickier. But given I'm talking to a young population, the thing I want to get across to you is when you invest in the stock market, the important thing is to leave your money and to not necessarily try to be a day trader and look for trading up or trading down all the time. Your overall best bet is going to be to just stay put, and you'll see these increases. On slide number 8, I have a slide there that talks about different types of investments by risk. And the more risky investments are equities, and the less risky are cash equivalents like treasury bills or certificates of deposit, CDs. But they earn a lot less money. So a 10-year treasury bond is going to earn 2.7%, whereas something like General Electric over 5 years earns 17.6% interest. So it's a notable difference. And as I mentioned, while the equities may seem more risky, over time, it's been a pretty sure bet that you're over time going to make money. So I talk about on slide 9 why this difference between 2.7 and 17%, or even if you look at a difference between 3% and 7%, may not seem like that big of a deal, but compound interest is a big deal, and it ends up making you a lot more money. Compound interest is defined as the interest that's calculated on the initial principal and on the accumulated interest of the previous periods of your deposit or loan. I'm going to skip that slide. So if I'm on slide number 13 now, sorry I'm going fast, but I know you guys only don't want to watch really long videos. So if you're on slide number 13, if you begin at age 25 with an initial investment of $1,000 and then you add in, I'm assuming you're working, $500 a month over 40 years, which will bring you to retirement years at a 7% return, right? And then if you go to slide number 14, you're going to have made over $1 million, $1,212,785 actually. So that's pretty good return. That's at 7%. If you invest it in something safer where you're earning 3% interest, you'll have only made $469,000. So as you can see, it's almost it's like a third of what you would have made. So how do you become an investor? Well, the easiest way is through some kind of, certainly if you're working and your company has a 401k and they let you invest, and very often they may do some matching for you too, so that's an added benefit. You can buy investments through brokers on your own, Fidelity, E-Trade. There's all sorts of apps now that I know students are getting excited about, like Acorn, and various apps where you can invest small amounts of money and they do some investments for you, and you can watch your money grow that way. There are different types of investment structures. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I mentioned a 401k. There's also a Roth IRA and IRAs. There's some great websites which you can look up sort of the differences on those. They have sort of different tax structures that makes the most sense. So I'm not going to get into that detail right now, but that information is available to you. So the first point I'm trying to make is that you want to invest, and you want to invest early. And you need to do it even if it seems like a small amount, even if it's $100 a month. You should be thinking about creating an investment account that you can put some money into every month so that you can earn compound interest, that you're in the stock market in which you have the chances of getting the highest return on your investment than any other return. So point number 1, save some money and start early, invest it in the stock market, and then don't look at it. Just, it's there, it's going to be there for you later. All right. Point number 2 is, and I'm on slide, what am I on, 18 now, is for you guys to avoid debt. And this is really tough, especially in your years, I get it. But consumer debt is probably one of the biggest problems we have in our country. And you have to remember that there are many, many industries that are built totally around making money off you and making money off your money. So you have to be very careful about running up credit cards, taking out loans, and unfortunately that includes student loans, which our country is kind of drowning in student loan debt right now for a lot of people. And this administration, there was talk about getting some forgiveness on this. I'm not sure it's going to happen right now, but you guys have to think carefully, and certainly if you get student loans, that it is used for your education and not for other things like upgrading your car or getting a nicer place to live, right? It's going to come back and bite you. So slide 19 is talks about Obama, which he didn't pay off his student loans until he was president of the United States. Point number 3, I'm on slide number 20, is for you to budget and live within your means. Also a lot easier said than done, but you have to really resist buying things that you can't afford, and develop a kind of a strict budget based around what it is you're earning. So one thing to look at is housing should be at no more than 30% of your gross salary that you pay for housing. And then, of course, your taxes in retirement are going to be taken out of your paycheck. And I always encourage you to take as much out of your paycheck as possible for both the 401k as well as for your taxes, so that you don't get an unpleasant bill. So on slide number 21, I sort of give an example of if you earn $50,000 in income, the net annual income after taxes is $36,000. So around 30% of that would be $3,000. And then you're looking at wanting to have some sort of savings that you put aside. And then you still have to pay, obviously, for all the things we have to pay for: food, transportation, utilities, insurance, your loans, clothes, entertainment. So it leaves, I have on this chart, $1,300 for all of those things, and that's tight. You know, it's tight working that all out. So you have to be, I think it's really helpful to lay this all down in black and white and get a lot of clarity on, here's exactly what I have. Here's what my expenses are, and here's what I have left to spend on some other luxuries like, you know, entertainment and clothes and so forth. So budget, be conscientious. The fourth point that I make on this slideshow is that one of the things you need to consider when you're applying for a job isn't just whether or not you get the job or not, or get the job offer. There's lots of other things for you to negotiate. Salary is just one of them. I think we focus a lot on that, on you know, what am I going to be making? But there's other things for you to think about. As you've read in like Lean In, you know that you actually don't negotiate your salary until you've gotten a job offer. That's not something that's discussed in prior interviews. And so the first thing you got to do is get the job. So I know we've talked to you a lot about this, but various things for you to think about in order to try and secure a job. Preparing for the job market, networking, getting the experiences you need, volunteer experience, lab experience, other work experience, getting your references together. Dr. Swartout did a nice talk on sort of some important things to consider when asking people to write you a reference letter. Your resume has to be flawless. We worked with you guys at trying to obtain that this semester so that you have a clean, flawless resume. Practice your interviewing. Remember, the resume is there to get you the interview, and then the interview is there to try and get you the job. So I'm not sure if we had time to go over interview skills with you, but it's another skill like any other, and the more you work at it, the more you practice, the better off you'll be. And then you, of course, hope to get the job offer. So when you get the job, as I mentioned, now it's time to negotiate. And ladies, we're worse at this than men, so keep that in mind. You have to probably be a little more prepared and a little more conscientious about approaching this task. But for all of us, it can be tough because we may really want the job. We get an offer, we want to just take it. But this is the time to sort of begin negotiations. So the one issue is obviously salary. But aside from that, you have things like what health insurance is offered, The 401k, what program do they offer? Do they do any profit sharing with you? Do they have disability leave? What's their vacation policy? What's their sick leave policy? What's the maternity, paternity leave policy? Do they have daycare options for you? Are any of your expenses covered? So many other points to consider besides just salary. So last slide basically is a summary of all this. I'm sorry it was so rushed. I usually take, the hour and 15 to go over all this with you, but basically point number one is invest and invest early, avoid debt, budget, and then maximize your job and the benefits that you get. So I hope that's helpful. I hope it gets you guys thinking about it a little bit more. It's something that sooner you start, the more you'll make down the road. So it can only help you to start early. All right, I think this may be it for my videos. I wanted to wish you guys the best of luck, encourage you guys to stay in and stay healthy, stay safe. I know summer we're going to be online again. Hopefully I will get to see some of you in classes this fall. I'm looking forward to that, to being back in the classroom. I did want to mention, I'll throw this in, I wanted to do a little talk on study abroad. I'll probably just post something about it. There are several programs we hope to run next year, assuming this crisis is under control at that point. I'm looking to do 2 trips, one over December into January to India, and a second to Scandinavia in spring break. I was supposed to do that this semester, but obviously it got canceled, and so I'm going to do that again. And Dr. Good and I are doing that trip to Scandinavia, and I'm running the India one on my own. So I'll post information about both of those trips. I think Dr. Swartout is talking about doing a trip to Iceland as well. So, and Dr. Cooper Mink always runs a trip in the summers in Maymester to Argentina. So I'll post a little more information, but I'd love to get you guys thinking about study abroads. There's such amazing experiences, wonderful things to put on your resume and CV. They're great discussion starters and interviews. And of course, nothing expands your horizon like traveling. There's just nothing like it. So hope to get you guys thinking about that. If I'm talking to any of the seniors, I want to wish you guys the best of luck. So sorry your senior year got cut short and graduation's been cut off. I'm hoping GSU does some sort of celebration for you later when available, but you definitely should celebrate. It's a huge milestone. Congratulations. We're all proud of you and wish you the very, very best. The rest of you, I hope to see you in the fall. Bye.